Hello, this is J.N.S, and I wanted to do a video on Carlton Pearson. I don't know if you guys remember him, but he was like this mega preacher. I just wanted to check my sound because I'm actually like live on real time, so I just wanted to make sure that my sound was good. Okay, there we go. So he was this mega preacher back in the day, and he was under Oral Roberts. He went to Oral Roberts University, I believe, or he was definitely mentored by him. And so Carlton Pearson just died. I want to say it was Sunday, I believe, and he died after a battle with cancer that had resurfaced after 20 years. He had previously had battled it, but he had succumbed to it. And so Carlton Pearson, believe it or not, he had a huge influence on me, on my life in terms of my spiritual practices. And he influenced me greatly. Like 10 years ago in 2013, I was introduced to Carlton Pearson through it was like a show with I want to say it was Sam Harris and Deepak Chopra, but they were doing some type of debate between if God is real or not, or something of that nature, something of that sort. And so that was my introduction to Carlton Pearson because he's much older than me, obviously. And so that led me to do more research on him because I was inspired by what he was talking about during that particular. Let me see if I can look it up. Let me see if it's still up there because that was 10 years ago. Let me see. Carlton Pearson and Sam Harris. Let's see. Sam Harris is like one of the um public intellectuals that promotes like neuroscience, and he was one of the ones that writes heavily on religion as a critique. Let's see, I'm trying to look for, and so they did like this conversation or like some type of debate. Carlton Pearson, I want to say it was Deepak Chopra, and he's like a doctor, Indian doctor. Let's see. Said it was Michael Shermer, Sam Harris. Okay, yeah, so it was. So here we go. It was a nightline debate. Does Satan exist? It was on ABC actually that was held in 2009 on March 26th. And so I had actually viewed this. This is an hour and 14 minutes long. And so I had actually viewed this in 2013, and that was my introduction to Carlton Pearson. And to be quite honest, it had an impact on me because at that time I was thinking of going into seminary to become a pastor. I am an ordained minister, but I'm not. I didn't go to a theological seminary. I do have a master's degree in religious studies from a scholar point of view. Um, it's just purely academic. It's not theological. And so as I was debating going to theological seminary, that's when I had, was introduced to Carlton Pearson, and he obviously came under hot water because he was like this mega pastor that had preached in front of like crowds of 250,000 for being evangelical Christian. He was into I want to say Pentecostal, I believe, and so he was big in that world. But by this time, he had walked away from the church. He had completely walked away because he had these revelations regarding, just the esoteric understanding of Christianity, but also some deep revelations and epiphany about like the states of consciousness, and with some of the teachings that Yeshua was teaching himself. And so he started to question things like many of the pastors do. And you go to theological seminary or you study these multiple religions, you're going to start to question things. You're going to see a lot of discrepancy, a lot of contradictions and stuff. If you're a critical thinker or someone that's creative, you're going to start to just question things, and so he started to question some of the teachings, and obviously you see these translations of renditions rather of the Bible through its many stages, from the the councils of Nicaea, the translations from Aramaic to Greek and to English, and then you have these versions. You have the King James version. You have 45 books removed out of the Bible. And then you have like this the Roman, obviously the Roman Empire's collation of what they would deem to be sound theology, which oftentimes mixed stories, or took out stories or redacted stories. And so anybody that's logical, anybody with a brain would start to notice those discrepancies, and or just the history of its collation. You would want deeper understanding in terms of spirituality, in terms of the soul, consciousness, God. And so Carlton Pearson was one of those people that did that. He questioned, things, and it led him to ultimately coming out on his perspective of heaven and hell, and God and Satan, and it really, from going to where he was like this mega preacher, of likes that which have never been seen, and to eventually being banned by the African American bishop. I don't know like the proper name for what they were called, but there was like a group of bishops in the Black community that straight up kicked him out. And I do know that the first part of their name is like African American something, but it was this group of bishops that got together and just completely kicked Carlton Pearson. They labeled him a heretic. The Black community completely ousted him. They, to be honest, treated him like crap. Some of your biggest pastors turned their back on him. His congregation left him. All the people in the Black church that was, oh, Carlton Pearson. But when he came out with the truth, they left him. And to be honest, I'm going to be quite frank. He was very brave, because I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Most of these pastors, they knew what he was saying was the fucking truth. We all know this. I am a minister. And his revelation and him stepping out like that allowed me to be able to talk the crazy shit I be talking. Okay. And by that, when I say crazy shit, I'm talking about the unorthodox way I approach spirituality, and the unorthodox way I talk about certain things of the teachings of the intergalactic mentalism of Yeshua. Him stepping out on what he stood on allowed me to go about the way I do things and not get the hits that he took. And it's not just me; it's a lot of other spiritualists that are not taking the hits that he once took, because this happened about 20 years ago. Maybe it happened about maybe about 10, 20, 15 years ago. Don't quote me on that, but they completely ripped him to shreds. And so he lost everything. He lost the endorsements, he lost the fame, he lost the money that came with it. And then he had a YouTube channel that he would go live on in 2013, at least. I mean, he probably was doing that before, but I tuned in 2013. And so I would watch him, and learn from him. And I always felt that he was a mature spirit. He had a mature take on things. And so he was questioning, the things that they were teaching in them seminaries, and the way that they would, the kiddie version of what they were given to their congregation. He had an issue with it, and he couldn't stand on that. You getting tens of thousands of dollars a month from your congregation, maybe even, hundreds of thousands, and he walked away from that because he just couldn't preach what he was preaching, knowing what he truly knows. And, he said that it was so many pastors that called him, that it was other pastors that were also just as big as him. And they would call him and say, you know what, I know what you're saying is true. We all know it. But at the end of the day, this is our bread and butter. I don't want to, and these other pastors was like, well, I don't want to lose my congregation, or I don't want to lose my thing, because I want to stand on the truth. Like, we just gotta, it is what it is. Like, oh well. And so they were calling him and admitting to him that, yeah, we know what you're talking. Yeah, we all pretty much know, most of your pastors are occultists. Most of your pastors are either Masons or they are, they know shit. And so they know how this Bible was collated. They know the teachings of the inner deeping, the inner uh teachings, will you. And a lot of that, if I'm being frank, like the how do I say this? The Bible, you can look at it as a psychology book, on intergalactic mentalism in a certain sense. For those who have like that deeper understanding, and the biggest, one of the best teachers, and I know people gonna be like, really, because I grew up hearing such a horrific take on this particular person, but one of the best teachers of intergalactic mentalism and pastors to me of teaching this information was Reverend Ike. Reverend Ike was something else, boy. And he did it such a twofold way where for those who were at the kiddie stage, they were still able to get it, still able to grasp it and not be labeled a heretic. And then if you were more advanced, you still caught on and got the deeper meanings of what was in that book, or what the doctrine was about. And so I thought he's like one of the ones that I felt was just so dope with that. And I always heard horrific things about Reverend Knight growing up, that he was like this prosperity preacher that only wanted money. Da, 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 da. And so I finally went back to go listen to him. And I was thinking in my head, like, that man is actually really, really deep. Like, he really understood some shit. And he understood that it was a psychology book, for one. He understood it was a psychology book. He understood that it was a book on mentalism. He understood the deeper teachings of it. And he was real. He taught people the real teachings, but also concealed it in a way to where he didn't offend the kitty souls, And so Carlton Pearson, he just came out with it like, this is what I think, and these are the issues that I have with, what's going on. And he paid for it dearly in terms of the hits that he took on his reputation. And so I just wanted to remember him because, to be honest, he is the one that set me on my quest to study more, to study things, to question things, to study spirituality, to study consciousness, to understand it in a deeper sense, to study the more esoteric meanings behind many texts, not just the Bible, but the worlds of religions in general. And so I vividly remember Carlton Pearson having a big impact on me. And it's funny because last week, no lie, I thought about him. Like, I was like, man, I need to go back and see what he's up to. Like, no lie, if I'm lying, I'm dying. Like, I really last week was thinking like, I need to go and find out like what Carlton Pearson has been up to. And then he dies on Sunday. And I just wonder, like, that's not the first time that's happened. When Prince died, I had a dream about him a week before he died. Randomly, like, I never even listened to a Prince music, But when Prince, when Prince, but the week before Prince had passed, I had a dream about him, and it was like it was so vivid, like something you just can't remember. And so me, just after 10 years of and Carlton Pearson just popping in my consciousness like that last week, and then less than a week later he dies, I just find it, strange, because it happens a lot with people, I've noticed, when it comes to me, but who knows what that's about. But anyways, yeah, Carlton Pearson, I think that he didn't get his flowers, and I just wanted to remember him and thank him and congratulate him on his legacy, because even in his last videos, on his deathbed, he had such a mature spirit, such a mature outlook on death. Was fully prepared, had no fear, did not care, and all these people that, oh, he's probably going to go to hell based on what he was teaching, how he left the church, and da 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 da. I guess a kitty soul would say, he's going to go to hell and all this nonsense. but just hearing him on his deathbed with his last words, he was clearly a very, very, very mature soul, and quite inspirational. It's like, man, if I wish I, if I live to be 70, and I know I'm on my way out, I want to have that type of bravery, where it's just that assurance, where you just know you're going to be okay. And so he seemed prepared for transition. If you ask me, he seemed totally prepared for it mentally, and emotionally and spiritually. And so that was inspirational. He was skin and bones, because the cancer had wore him out. I think he was doing chemo too. So he looked like skin and bones. He didn't look like how he looked, when he was younger. He was 70 years old. And so he passed, and now I see like all the black church, all the black Americans. Oh, Carlton Pearson. I'm like, y'all treated that man like shit when he was alive, like completely abandoned him because he spoke out on, the theological contradictions, and some of the things of this vengeful, of the way that God is presented in its limited version in the Bible. He had some things to say about that. He had some things to say, and um he took a lot of hits. He took a lot of hits, and him taking them hits actually helped people like me who are spiritual intuitives, and who also like to study those esoteric versions of these texts. I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I have a very vast, expanded view on, religion. I'm not a religious person at all. And I have studied various schools of thoughts, from the east to the west. Doesn't mean I practice it. Um, but I'm a chaos intelligence being for a reason. I study it all. I look at universal consciousness, the spirit, as vast, and you can't really put that in any one particular um ideogram of religion. Certainly not religion. And so, you know, he really made that easy for me to do that. He really did, and others like me who are chaos, magicians, chaos intelligence beings, spiritual intuitives, those who are non-traditional when it comes to even how we present material from the Bible and from Abrahamic religions. And so I can't stress that enough, how much I thank him for that. And I'm actually going to go back and review that interview with it was Sam Harris, I believe, Deepak Chopra, and Carlton Pearson, and maybe was that Michael Shermer, I'm not sure. But if you guys can look that up, ABC Nightline debate. It's old. It came out in 2009. But that was my introduction to him, and he has, if you type in Carlton Pearson, a whole bunch of shit will come up. He's way above our time. I'm 31 years old, so he was 70. He damn near old enough to be grandpa. And so that was real quick. I just wanted to cover that, because I just find it so ironic, how like all these people are like coming out. Well, Noel Jones had his thing to say, Noel Jones, but Noel Jones always been out of this world. I think that's Grace Jones' brother. So he's a pastor, and Noel Jones had spoke on Carlton Pearson, but and I believe Bishop T.D. Jakes said something as well. And I'm like, but did you guys support him when he was still, when he had got ousted by the black church and the black community? So, who knows? That was just something real quick. He just died. He was just on my mind, and I just wanted to get that out. And so I'll talk to you guys later. I actually want to do a clarification video on the chaos intelligence stuff that I was talking about. I wanna go in there and do some deep clarifications, because I just need to make some corrections. So I'll be doing that tomorrow, probably. Yeah, I'll probably be doing that tomorrow. And so I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.